Honey, we need to chat.
How you act when no one's watching may be the biggest test in your relationship. And the truth is, accountability is one of the most important, least talked about foundations in a successful relationship. Today, we're unpacking what breaks down when you don't own your own stuff and what happens when you eventually do. So welcome back to another episode of Honey, We Need to Chat. If you're new here, my name is Blair. This is my wife, Amy.
Hello.
And we do this podcast. This is what we do. We believe that when communication dies, bad things happen. So this podcast is all about highlighting the importance of communication in a relationship. So our mission, our hope is to bring hope into relationships. So we're so thankful that you're here. While you're here, if this is the only thing that you know about is our podcast, well, then you only know a little bit about what we do. We actually have a YouTube channel as well. We've got so much stuff on there and more stuff coming as well. So if you haven't gone over there yet, head over there now. Subscribe, get that bell notification as well, because every time we come out with new content, you're going to get notified for it and some really solid stuff coming your way. So Amy's got some coaching stuff coming out there. I've got some more of my personal stuff that I'm going to be unpacking there as well. We're normal people that go through normal struggles. And so what you're struggling with isn't unique to you. There's many other people out there too. So we want to build that community, share those stories and go on that journey together.
Yes. So today, as we mentioned, we are talking about accountability in relationships. And I wonder what you think about when you hear accountability. It could be that you're saying sorry. It could be that you're owning your own stuff. It could be about not breaking trust. I don't know what comes to mind for you when you hear it, but it's probably not flashy and probably doesn't sound exciting. But as basic as accountability might feel, it's also one of the most important foundational things that builds strength within a relationship. And if you're anything like us, you've probably learned the hard way that there's a huge difference between saying sorry and actually taking ownership of your own stuff within a relationship. I want to paint a little picture to explain why this is so important and so foundational for so many couples. So in a relationship without accountability, you might have one partner that says they'll do something, change something, or be something, and then they don't do that. Then the other partner will feel let down. Potentially they stay quiet, they keep the peace, or they take it into their own hands and own it instead. The conversations start to become guarded and avoidant. Tension builds. One person keeps mental tabs on every broken promise. The other avoids, ignores, justifies, dismisses, or pretends not to notice the things that they're not following through on. Relationships start to become walking on eggshells instead of comfortable and safe. The trust is broken and emotional safety disappears and connection disappears. So that's what you can see playing out on a big scale when you're in a relationship without accountability. The opposite of that is in a relationship with accountability. So someone says they're going to do something, be something, or change something. They do it or they miss the mark, but they immediately own up to it. One person catches themselves withdrawing or spiraling, and they openly name it and constructively address it with their partner saying, hey, I've been feeling off. Your partner doesn't have to track you or follow through for you because you're owning your own stuff. You feel a sense of pride and ownership in your relationship and in the way that you're showing up in your family. Conflict will still happen because that's normal in relationships, but you're quick to repair and you're constructive in your repairs. And honesty becomes a culture in which you both feel emotionally safe. And over time, the trust actually deepens. So as you can see, accountability, while it's not a very exciting word, is really foundational for how a relationship progresses and for the future and the success of a relationship.
When you say accountability, my mind goes to the word seen, like I'm seen. So I can't hide away in the things that I'm actually doing. Yeah, so when you were talking through those sorts of things there about what it looks like when you have accountability in a relationship, well, there's been different seasons where I've experienced all of the things, like the opposites of all the things that you just mentioned. It's like I've gone through those different seasons. So it's not like you just experience one thing. You experience different things in different situations and different stages of life and different processes. So we've really had to work on this. And one thing that stands out to me too, so seen, right? That word just stands out to me. Where you and I are discussing something at the moment, nothing heavy, but it's just something at the moment. And I keep saying to you, I just feel really uneasy about that. And your answer, and you asked me, which is good, is why do I feel uneasy? Now I know before I could have just got really impatient with that question and be like, I just am. I'm just uneasy. But now, because we've worked on this for years now, I'm like, all right, cool. Why am I actually uneasy? So I've got that attitude of curiosity towards my own response. And I don't have an answer yet. And that's my answer. And that's and my answer is I'm unpacking that. That with that, now you have that insight to my situation, now equips you so much more with understanding my response. And
yeah, absolutely.
it's not a finish here. It's a commitment to keep on unpacking that.
Yeah.
That's just what the word seen means, because I can just sit there and go on a spiral. I can do my thing and there's no accountability in my process. But with you asking me that accountability to you, now we're both equipped and stronger in that situation.
Yeah, I really like that. That's a really good, I guess, not definition, but like what comes to mind for you when you hear it, because I haven't thought of it that way before. And it's really easy for these examples to sound like closed, like this is what it is with it, this is what it is without it. That's obviously, these are examples painting the picture of why it's important, because this is a lot of these things we talk about on the podcast are slow burns, or they're slow slippery slopes that you fall down or you find yourself in a rut in. And it doesn't mean, oh no, we're on the slippery slope, we never come back up. It's just that every little thing that we don't address is what leads us in the grand scheme of things further and further apart when they're unaddressed. So like, these examples don't hold on to them like, oh, this is what it looks like. This is what it is. This is just to paint the picture and help us think forward on why is it important? Because right now where we're standing might not feel as important, might not feel as pressing. And a lot of stuff doesn't until you're down the track where you see the bigger picture of it. But I love that scene idea. And that kind of plays into some of the focus of why accountability is so important and what that looks like in practice. So you've preempted. Good job, babe. So when I was trying to work on this as well, I found it really hard because accountability, there's a definition and I'm going to read it because I just got it from the dictionary. It was hard to grasp what it looks like, and we're going to unpack that. It's hard to grasp what it means to people. And it's probably more of like a vibe that we're just going to vibe out a little bit. But the definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. So in a relationship, this means owning your impact in the relationship, owning how you affect your family members, owning how you affect the routines and success and productivity of your family, of yourself within this relationship, how you're showing up, your constructive or destructive behaviors or habits, not relying on your partner to own those for you. So it's really about this ownership piece, ownership in the following through and ownership in your mistakes as well. Following through on what you say you would do, be, or change emotionally, practically, or spiritually. So accountability it's also really closely tied into integrity. You're owning the things you've committed to and showing up in that way, in a way that you've committed to. You're naming your mistakes or your missteps without needing to be caught or cornered or chased down. So you're not waiting to be caught in order for the ownership of this to take place. It's not like only when I'm seen will I be accountable. It's that accountability is taking that on regardless. You are owning that from the beginning if you're succeeding or if you're finding yourself missing steps. It's also about saying and being sorry, and saying and being the sole owner of your actions and your commitments. So it's not just saying sorry. That's really important. It's not just saying those things. It's actually about being sorry.
Yeah. And you see that a lot, right? Like, so actions are louder than words a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and we've all had those moments where you hear something someone will say. The thing that comes to mind straight away, and if you're watching this, is Joey on Friends with like, I'm sorry, with quotation marks, hands. And
he doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing. But you see that a lot. And we've had these different experiences where it's like, all right, someone's promised something. They're not going to do that again. Or, all right, things will change now. Things will be different now. But the actions say otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So action is a big part of that. So again, good intentions. And that's where it's like, I've said to you, you know, there's been things that I feel like I've been working on for years, right? And we work through it, we have a conversation. And it's not saying that like you say something and then, oh, you can never make a mistake again. It's not saying that. What it is, though, is me owning my situation. So, you know, we've talked a lot about my mental health struggles, and you shared some of the pain that's caused you. It's not now that I can be like, cool, all right, I'll never have mental health struggles ever again. It's not saying that at all, but it's still owning and being responsible for what I'm doing. This is my struggle. So how am I supporting you with the thing that I'm doing as well? So that, I think that's a big part to take into consideration. You don't want to just be the person that says stuff, but don't put the words into action. Exactly. But also when you've got these circumstances that keep happening, it's owning your situation and the impact that it can have on others, and how are you helping others as well through that. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it was so hard to define, like to explain when I was working on it, because it's
it's such a varied behavior or whatever you want to call it, attitude, and it changes. It's not stagnant. It's not static like that. But I was thinking when you were talking about the I'm sorry thing with our kids, like a lot of the time when they hurt each other or they're frustrated or whatever, and we ask them to say sorry, they'll say sorry, and you know that they're not, like, they're just like, sorry. And it's like, there's no actual
They're doing
sorry.
it because they've been told to say sorry.
And they'll do it 500 other times. Like they'll still get too intense in someone's face, or they'll still like steal the thing. Or
and their response back, and from their point, is like so genuine. It was an accident. I accidentally jumped on their head for the 5th time. It's like, all right, man, that's fine. When you keep making the same accident though, like you gotta.
That is a pattern. They say a lot of the time, I didn't mean to. And I've now started to say, but you need to mean not to.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. It's like, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah. But you need to be meaning to not do it. So it's not about just floating through life and being whoops. It's like, okay, what might be whoops? And I'm going to mean not to do that. Yeah. Anyway, so the kids are a really good case study for this stuff.
Well, it's so funny though, because it's like you see how these patterns can actually be carried on to adult life, right? You see these actions that our kids are doing. It's like, man, I see adults do that.
100%.
And now it's not as like cute when adults do it, obviously. It's very irritating when kids do it too. But you see that there's this time in our lives where we've got to be accountable for our actions. It's like, all right, cool. Habits are habits. So you've got to break those habits. So now we need to own that process of breaking those habits.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see how it plays out, and until it's really challenged, until there's some blatant, like embarrassing or obvious moment, some people really struggle to grasp this and take it on board. Yeah. So in real life, this is what it looks like, what accountability looks like in real life. It looks like stepping up or stepping forward before and being willing before needing to be chased. So meaning you are either stepping up. So we're thinking mental load, right? Like we talk about mental load a lot. Stepping up before you need to be chased, owning your thing before you're needing to be chased and nagged and whatever, being willing before you need to be chased. So it's not a matter of like, if they ask me, I'll do it, but I just can't be bothered. And I know so many people whose partners say, if you want me to do something, tell me. And I understand that, like I get it, but also like own it. And that's why the mental load conversation is important, because we're now bringing this to the table. And then when it's on the table, everyone can own it. And I want to say as well, actually, before we dive too far in, we have this practice or whatever you want to call it, where we will say it's until I communicate it, it is my problem. So if I've got a problem, it's my problem until I communicate it with Blair. And once I've communicated it with him, then it's our problem or his problem, depending on what it is. Once I've made it clear that this is really upsetting me or this is whatever, then we can own it together until I've been willing to share that. And I'll dive into this as a part of accountability too. I can't really expect that he's just going to know that's what I want or needing or whatever. The flip side of that is also true. You would hope to be a partner that is proactively searching out how to be a constructive and mature and accountable partner in your relationship. So you're stepping forward before you're needing to be nagged, but it doesn't take off the responsibility of you still need to have clear communication about those things. So you're stepping forward and being willing before you need to be chased. You're not just waiting till someone catches you out. You're not needing your partner to constantly point things out that you should be noticing yourself. You're sharing honestly about what's going on for you, even if it's uncomfortable and even if you're unsure how your partner will respond. And this is totally avoidance, passive aggressivity, a bunch of different conversations we've had, and definitely something that I struggle with. And sort of what I just said, like if I've got something I'm navigating that I need to express clearly, it is my responsibility and my accountability to communicate that clearly. It doesn't take the ownership off whatever behavior might be going on from my partner's end, but it is my responsibility to communicate that clearly. And that is regardless of how uncomfortable it feels. And it's regardless of how I think they're going to react. I don't own their reaction. Accountability is all about owning your stuff. You own your responsibility to bring something to the table if it needs to be brought to the table in a gentle and caring and loving way, like we've spoken about on the show before. But that has to be regardless for how uncomfortable it is or how I think you're going to take it, because I'm not responsible for that element. Living in a way that prevents harm, not just apologizing after harm. This is what we said with the kids, like living meaning not to rather than just not meaning to. Having grace for yourself to learn, change, and be humble, which also means not spiraling into a shame cycle that keeps you quiet, avoidant, and repeating destructive behaviors. And I wanted to include this because so often we have a victim mentality that we can fall into. And sometimes that's victim mentality to things outside of us that have been done to us and we can't get out of it, which is a trap because you have to own your own power and own your own actions that you can do in that. But also sometimes we have a victim mentality of like, oh, woe is me. Look how bad I am. I'm so bad. I'm so bad at this thing. I'm not good at this thing. I can't get on top of this thing. And you spiral into a shame cycle, and shame just keeps you trapped. So having grace for yourself is also part of accountability. Having grace for yourself to change and learn so that you don't end up trapping yourself in a cycle where you lose all accountability altogether because you're, oh, I'm so bad at this thing. That's also part of accountability, not digging yourself a hole just because you failed. And that's never constructive for moving forward. It just helps you repeat the destructive behaviors that you've already been repeating. And the last one I've got here is committing to live in the way you've agreed to together and honoring your partner and yourself in your thoughts, your decisions, and your behaviors. So this is probably the hot topic part of this, which is things like lust, bitterness, contempt. And I've got a note that I put down here because I think it's a good example. If you have an affair in a relationship, people don't just suddenly turn around and cheat on their partner. That's not how it happens. It was, you have to mean not to. It's something that starts slowly. And I personally really believe that starts with what you're allowing going on inside your mind. And that's why we've got really intentional boundaries that we've put in place as a couple together around things like lust or how we navigate opposite gender interactions and that sort of stuff. Not because we're so out of control
or insecure.
It's because we know that every little thing that you allow in there and every little thing that you allow to fester or sit in your brain, it's not all related to lust. It's related to so many things, but this is just a good example of it. Either helps move you forward in a constructive way or starts to make you break down in a deconstructive way.
The way that I look at it is like, oh, I'm really scared that Amy's going to have an affair. It's not like that at all. No. It's more about we're just being proactive and putting these things in place. That's just not even a thought. So it's just that we're being intentional with that process rather than just being like, oh, no, that will never happen and I don't need to worry about it. Yeah. It's like, no, let's just, it's a value of ours to not cheat on each other. Yeah. Like it's a commitment of ours to honor each other and the way that we view or speak about or any of that. So we're just intentional with it.
And I think it's most people's value to not cheat on each other. But that's what I mean when these things they're not usually clear cut. They're little subtle things. And so people that, have an affair usually, and I'm not going to try and be creative in my brain because I just don't want to think about it that much, but usually it's a little thing that they probably would not have even identified as being inappropriate or unhelpful. It's probably just a little, emotional openness to something that starts to be then more openness and then more openness. And then it just ends up further than they would have ever thought it was going to be because of all these little moments. And so we've set that boundary way further back than probably most people think it's necessary, but that's what feels safe to us. And it makes us feel safe about each other. Yeah. And it makes us feel safe about ourselves. I find it really helpful to have that for myself too, just knowing, oh, that's a boundary. And every time I stick to it, I'm like, that's great.
Yeah, and that's the accountability side too, though, right? Like it's not, again, it's not out of a place of insecurity; it's out of a place of intentionality. Yeah, it's like like there's moments where we've both done for each other. Is like actually that's pushing the boundaries of what we've put in place, and we discussed that. It's not just a flat out no, not happening. It's none of that. It's like, hey, okay, that's cool, but these are the things that we value, and then we navigate through that together. Yeah. So it's giving us the permission to speak into situations. It's putting things in place where, we can't guard stuff because that's when we're guarded, we're not accountable. We put those barriers up and we don't let each other in, and we're just putting things in place to keep allowing each other to speak into those different things.
And like we said in the last episode about future-proofing love is not rigid and static. So the other part of all of this is you don't set a rule and then that rule is so rigid that it's actually fragile in its different way. It's a flexible culture that we're building so that we address things, because these kinds of boundaries we've got in place, every situation is so vague. It's not black and white. The black and white ones are usually ones you don't have to worry about so much because it's so obvious that that's inappropriate. Yeah. It's the vague kind of moments where it's like, oh, I don't know. And that's where the conversation comes in. Yeah. But because we've had those conversations, we know what to look out for. And so we've got these little feelers out there, and instead of us not having those and then finding ourselves in a much more complicated situation.
We've just seen so many relationships around us fall to affairs as well. And we don't, it's just like, cool, well, what are we actively doing to...
What are we doing to mean not to? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, this is not just about lust or affairs or infidelity. You can play this out for the things that feel really not that big of a deal, like contempt. That's a huge one. And the Gottman's Four Horsemen talk about how that is the most damaging red flag for a relationship. And that's something that starts small too. That's little bits of bitterness, little bits of passive aggressivity, little bits of like,
and they're not being addressed,
not
so just
addressing,
there,
like holding it, all that stuff. It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
So you have these little things that you put in there as red flags or marker points or whatever you want to call it to signal to each other, we need to address this, and then you address it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like in real life. That's what accountability can look like in real life in a relationship. Some of the key principles for what accountability is accountability is not about blame. It's about integrity and strength in your relationship. So it's not to be a blame game. And as much as there is the element of ownership, like we said before, it's not a blaming, shaming thing. It's trying to reinforce your relationship. And it's about integrity and strength. So it's a positive thing. When it becomes a blaming kind of thing and this like shame culture, then it actually starts to do the opposite to what you want it to do. Accountability builds emotional safety through being predictable, consistent, constructive, having honest rhythms and behaviors. And that's really important. The emotional safety and the emotional predictability is something that is built over time and is only something that is built through action. Like we said before, doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say. If your actions aren't reinforcing it, you can't build this. And it's so important for the strength of your relationship to have that predictability and that safety in order for you to feel like you can build and move forward. And I think there have been times where there's been a lack of predictability. So like your burnout, there was a lack of predictability that was around your emotional regulation and then my emotional regulation and the emotional regulation of our family. And there will be times where it's difficult like that, but our focus was getting back to that safety space. And if we hadn't, I don't know how you have a healthy relationship. Like how do you, when you can't predict or feel safe around your partner, how do you have a healthy relationship ongoing?
Yeah, I mean, for that too is you can just become numb. You might not feel safe, but then you might feel silly that you don't feel safe. So you just go numb.
Yeah, go numb. You disconnect, you pull away, you find your safety and predictability outside of each other. You're not building together, you're building individually at that point. Accountability also offers structure in a relationship. It's a framework. So it's like putting up the frame of a house. It isn't the house, but it's what you build the house around. And so as a couple, this is what we've built our relationship around. This is what we're building our culture of our family around. And that helps you to stay aligned, moving the same direction on the same team. It helps you stay safe, like we mentioned earlier. It helps you even when no one is watching. And that's what you were saying about the scene part. It's a really important element of this because accountability is not just what you're doing when other people are watching. It's actually more important about what you're doing when no one is watching. Something
that's really challenged me over the years and it's always been a challenge and it still is even to today, but it's not as extreme of a challenge. It's just a small thing that I'm aware of. But how I would parent my kids when others were around was a big one. You know, like I would be more frustrated when no one was around than if people were around. I'd put in more effort to be calm and pleasant because I want people to feel like I'm a patient parent. The reality is I'm not. Like, I mean, the reality is like kids press my buttons, but also the reality is I have my best times with the kids too. So you don't see all that stuff, and I'm very concerned about how people will see me there. So, but when people are around, I am seen. So, yeah, it's that challenge there.
Yeah, to have it consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've actually shared that with the kids too. I'm like, and I remember one time specifically, I came home and I apologized. Well, no, I didn't come home and I apologized. We were out, then I got home and then I got frustrated. And I'm like, later I talked to them. I'm like, look, this is something I'm struggling with. You know, I just feel like, you know, I don't like this. I don't like that we've just been out and I've been, you know, all pleasant and come home and just been frustrated. I don't like that. And I want to work on that. So that's been a big part too, is like identifying that, you know, this is a struggle of mine, communicating that, but at the same time is like, they're going to see it again. So just helping them know like that I'm still working on this and I'm not, you know, it's just that it's not that once-off conversation with them. It's like, oh, I ticked that box. I said that.
But they're not, and also the element of them not owning that for you. Like they're not.
No, I'm not putting it on them.
Yeah, you've said it and then now they just have to remember that even though your actions aren't backing that up. Like That's because
I notice our oldest boy, sometimes he starts like, you can see him starting to own it. And I was just like, man, all right, look, I appreciate you. I love you. I love what you're trying to do. But even just sharing, I just don't think it's healthy that you take that on. This is my thing. I love your support, but I need to own this as well. Yeah,
absolutely. It's funny because I wrestle with that, but I also wrestle with the opposite. When I'm out in public, I find myself embarrassed or like overwhelmed by the thoughts of what people are thinking of me, my kids, or the behavior of my kids. So I'm more frustrated or more on top of stuff than I would be if it was just me and there was no one around.
Yeah.
So it can work like...
Yeah, and it can cause greater frustration because I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to disturb people, and the kids just don't know how to be quiet because they're just still learning that. At the end of the day, they're kids. They're doing kid things. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just being kids. It's just us being able to regulate that situation.
Yeah, but it's a great example of that, like recognizing, there's a difference between how I act or how I feel like acting when I'm seen or when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to read what I wrote because I felt like I got it. I nailed it. It's something about accountability. People can sometimes think subconsciously that it's a performative thing, that it is while people are looking and that appearances are enough. And I'm here to say nope.
No.
That actually it's the opposite. And what you do, how you are, and what you own when you're not being viewed is the biggest telltale sign of your relationship integrity and of your integrity as a person. Accountability offers a framework to help you stay aligned and on the same team, but it also offers a framework for you to stay integral, you to stay in integrity as a person, as an individual, regardless of your relationship status and regardless of if it's in front of people or not. So we're going to move on to why does it actually matter in a second.
Yeah, but before we do, we just wanted to share with you about a fundraiser that we're a part of. We're a part of Man with a Pram, which is a Australian national event that's happening around on Father's Day weekend. We're raising funds to support dads in the perinatal period, which is before birth and after birth. Research shows that when dads are greater supported in this period, the whole family is more supported. 96% of mums' first contact for help and support is the dad, but there's no help and support there for dads. So we're on a mission with Dad's Group and Man with a Pram to bring greater support for dads in the perinatal period to better support the family. So if you'd like to join us, if you'd like to donate, you can click on the link in the bio, donate to Honey We Need to Chat on the Man with a Pram platform. And that'd be a great support. You could also run your own event by continuing on the Man with the Pram website and signing up.
Yeah, great Father's Day activity for anybody who doesn't yet have a plan.
Oh. The family event.
Exactly.
Forgot to mention that. The family event. So it's an awesome event too. So we run our local one here on Father's Day weekend. Families come together to get around dads and say, look, you're not doing this alone. We've got your back.
Yeah. Absolutely. Get on that. We will link it into the description of this podcast. Alrighty. So why does accountability actually matter? So having accountability helps you stop living in defense mode because you've already owned it. It helps your partner relax because they don't have to chase you, remind you, or wonder if you've actually heard them. And also helps with that predictability we talked about. They know who you are and they know what they can trust and expect from you. And they don't have to be second guessing that all the time. It helps you feel more like you. And that's really important. Not just about, do it for all the other people. Accountability is so important for yourself because if you can do what you've committed to do or be what you've committed to be or whatever it is, you will feel so much more, you'll feel such a better sense of self and strength in yourself. And you're not going to be spiraling in that guilt or that shame. You're not going to be hiding away, feeling secretive, having parts of your brain where you're like, I can't show this part. I can't show this part. It's just clean self-respect. And that's really important for your sense of self and for your mental health. It's huge. And that also fully impacts how you show up in your relationships, how you show up at work, how you show up in life. It helps the relationship feel lighter. So there's less resentment. There's less bitterness, there's fewer emotional surprises, and there's a future and like a positivity and enjoyment. And we've found this when like there's some really hard stuff that we have navigated in the accountability space. And some of it's been really tricky and yucky, but every time we have a conversation about something that we've navigated, I feel so much better. Like straight away, even if it's like, I hate that we're still navigating this.
Even if it's a hard conversation. Yeah.
I feel so much better I feel so much more connected to you. I feel sometimes trust is still affected because of whatever's gone down, but it makes me, that safety that we talked about is there. So it makes me see the way forward instead of this big secrecy bubble or this big like hidden bubble. It doesn't help you see your future. And so that's what accountability can do. It makes your relationship feel lighter. You become trustworthy. It's not because you're never making mistakes. It's that people trust you, you're predictable, they know what's going to happen in how you navigate it, what your behaviors are, what your reactions are. So you're trustworthy, and that again impacts how you're showing up in your family. You're also forming a culture within your family. Accountability sets the tone for your family, and that's really important. You're forming your expectations of each other. You're forming how you guys navigate this and how you navigate everything else that comes up as well. Also, if you have kids, you're setting that example for them as well. They're seeing what true accountability, I can't say that word. They're seeing what true accountability looks like, kind of like what you said in your apology to them, and kind of sharing your struggle with them about how you're reacting. They've seen that now. And that's can be a really beautiful thing when it's followed by action.
What I was going to say is that the thing is there is like, all right, I had to really navigate through this. I've communicated with them, but with that comes a whole other level of questions, confusion. I mean, they're at an age where they're not really getting it.
Yeah.
So they're still navigating through it. So it's an ongoing thing. As I mentioned before, it's not just one conversation. It's a commitment to working through that with them. I'm owning it. I'm being responsible for my actions and my responses.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. As long as it's done in a constructive way and not in like a dismissive or trying to just tick a box way, then I feel like, everyone's going to have their things as a parent. And it's scary to think about the damage or the pain that we might cause at our kids. But I think if we're able to show that side of us, that's one of the biggest gifts that we can give. Yeah. And one of the biggest hopes, because it doesn't really matter. It does matter what you do, but it adds an extra layer of value and relationship. Yeah. But basically, accountability keeps your conscience clean and your connection strong. That is why it actually matters in a relationship. So there's some common misconceptions of what accountability is. Something like, but I said sorry, isn't that enough? Like, no, saying sorry is not enough. Or I didn't mean to hurt them, like we said earlier. We need to mean not to hurt them. Or I only acted like that because they did whatever. And that's the defensiveness that we're talking about. That's the blame game that we were talking about. I only acted like that because this happened, and that's not taking accountability of your own actions. If it was that bad, they'd bring it up. If it was that bad of a thing, my partner would bring it up to me. Waiting for that to happen is not accountable. Or fine, I'll just try harder. Like that kind of like, fine, you've nagged me, so I'll fix it, or I won't do it again. And that's again, not taking accountability. Or I'm the worst. That shame, victim mentality spiral. I'm the worst. I'm really bad at this thing. I'm the worst.
It's kind of like, it's not guilt tripping. Well, it's kind of guilt tripping the other person. Yeah. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. Like, tell me how good I am, but I'm so bad. And the one before, like, fine, I'll try harder. It's just when it's all about the way that you're saying it too. Like, we mentioned about when we tell our kids to say sorry to each other, they just say it because they know that's what we're wanting them to say. There's no meaning behind it. Words are not enough. You've actually got to mean these things.
And that's a good example of what is enough in that place. Because yes, when you hurt somebody, it is nice to say sorry, but it's not okay to just say sorry.
No. So what I would do in this situation, right? Rather than just fine, I'll try harder. It's like, all right, cool. I hear you. I will try harder. I'm going to put these things in place. Right. So it's like, and then that's the accountability. It's like, you can say to me, how are you going? So with my mental health, right? I know, and if I'm not active, if I don't get outside, we work from home, right? So we're always inside. It's very hard to get like active because you miss out on a lot of random little activities, right? So walking from your house to your car, walking from your car to the office, you don't get any of that, right? Because you're just at home. And that for me, I need to be out with, nature, go for a walk, blah, blah, blah. So, with my mental health, it's like, all right, cool. This is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to walk more. I'm going to be more active. And when you feel like I'm struggling, now you have something to check in. It's like, hey, how are you going with walking? You don't come to me like, Blair, you're being super cranky. You're being anxious. You're annoying us because you're doing it. You come with specific like questions to help me work through that situation because you know of the accountability that I put in place. But with that changing of and framing and meaning of what I'm trying to do, they're both now stronger to work on my situation. I'm taking responsibility, but I'm not leaving you out in the dark or the cold of like not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
They're now doing this together.
Yeah. And I think all of these things require a curiosity about each other or an openness to each other. So the sorry thing with the kids, like for them to really understand what it is, they need to think, oh, what did I do that hurt them? How might they be feeling? And that's where that piece is missing for them. Like they're still building that muscle. And that's as parents, what we can help them do. Be like, don't just say sorry. Like, what did you do? Like, how did that happen? Yeah. Why did you do it? That sort of thing. Like the curiosity. And yeah, accountability, although I've said ownership like 500 times in this episode, it is your ownership of the thing. But there are times where accountability is, I actually can't do this on my own. Like I'm not doing well on my own, or I'm spinning my wheels. So I'm seeking out accountability to bring someone into this space to help me with this. Not that they own it. I still own it, but I'm not achieving what I want to achieve in this space, or I'm not bringing in the healing or the work or whatever. So I need an external person. And that's with the walking and stuff. You're mostly you own that on your own anyway, but there will be times where mental health is low and it feels almost impossible to remind yourself. So that's where that team element comes in. I'm not here to carry it for you or fix it for you, but the openness and you bringing in an external accountability, which we've done in our relationship, to remind you or to have that curiosity with you is important. So it's not about, you need to fix it on your own. Don't you dare put it on anybody else. That's not how this works. And you'll know at your core what's putting it on someone else or not. All right. So everyday signs of missing accountability. So here are some everyday signs of accountability being missed within a relationship. So you forget to follow through on something and you quietly hope that they won't bring it up. You spent money secretly and you justified it in your head. This has happened for me where I've found myself, not huge things, but I've been like, and we've talked about the financial thing when I had the chunk of our savings in at my account. And I was just like, it was so overwhelming to me because I knew I just did not have the discipline or even the peace to see through it. So I ended up just being like, just take it, just literally take it out of the account. I don't want it there. Yeah. And I would find myself not flippantly buying stuff, but I would buy stuff and then see it going down and be like, oh, I feel bad about this. So if you're finding yourself spending money, I know this is such a specific one, but I think it happens quite a bit, secretly, and then justifying it or keeping it from your partner, those kinds of things are a sign of missing accountability. Finance is such a huge stress on relationships. Yeah. You know, with that as well, solid systems and processes, or even just then it's like, all right, I deal with finances, the stress of finances a little bit better than you do. So I'll take that, and you take care of the bills and such. We're working on this together as a team is really important. So, when you just sort of, not that you did this intentionally, but you kind of brushed over the finance thing as a small deal. Oh, it's not actually a small deal. No, finance for a lot of relationships is the main stressor. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really funny, good example of it because I wasn't actually overspending or being ridiculous with my finances. Some people would, but I wasn't, but I was thinking I was. Even the fact that I was feeling like I was, and then feeling like I was hiding it or feeling like I was carrying this burden was enough to erode for me. So that's when I got it out. It was better. So it's funny because accountability is not just about what you're actually doing or the impact you're actually having. Sometimes it's just I think I might be doing this. And that's enough of a flag to be I need to communicate about this. Sarcasm or shutting down instead of naming something that's uncomfortable or something that you need to name and address in your relationship. Those kinds of communication patterns, the clumsy communication that we've had in these other episodes, that's actually a lack of accountability as well. Brushing off a comment or brushing off an incident that impacted your partner instead of checking in on how it went. Ignoring that, blatantly just lying. If you lie to your partner, that's a lack of accountability. Keeping something small to yourself and intentionally avoiding, obviously not every detail needs to be shared with your partner, but if there's something that you are intentionally avoiding sharing with your partner outside of a surprise birthday party or something like that, ask yourself what that is and why, because that to me is a marker for a lack of accountability. Finding your mind wandering into risky territory. So imagining a life with someone else or overly sexualizing or fantasizing about something. We talked about that already. My hot take on this is there's a world of difference between noticing somebody is beautiful and then being attracted to them. And that is a subtle difference in your brain and what you do with the information that you're feeding into your brain. You can't control what information gets into your brain, you can control what you do with that information, and you should be controlling that. So not actively putting things in place to take ownership of your thoughts, regardless of the topic, is a lack of accountability.
Yeah.
Nursing quiet resentment, that contempt piece we talked about, sliding into that contempt or comparison or bitterness or whatever, and not communicating about it. Acting fine on the outside, but internally shutting down or pulling away from your relationship. And really at the core of it, ultimately, you know what doesn't feel constructive. You know what a lack of accountability is. You know for you what that is in your relationship, in your context. So common deflections people might be putting out if they're struggling with accountability is, it's not that big of a deal, or I'll fix it on my own. I won't bring them in on it. I'm too stressed to deal with that right now. They should just know. Bringing it up will just make it worse. All of those kinds of deflections can be signs of a lack of accountability. And as we've mentioned earlier, and this is a really important part, intentions and impact are really important to discern between. Most of us will judge ourselves by our own intentions, so what goes on in our intentions internally, but we will judge other people by how they impact us. And so that's important. The actions and words are really important. We might have a lot of grace for ourselves because we know we intended to do this thing, and a lot less grace for someone by how they acted towards us. But we need to be aware of, and true accountability is aware of, owning the gap between your intentions and how you acted. So on the flip side of this, what does real accountability look like in a relationship in practical examples? So someone coming to their partner addressing, I've actually been really emotionally checked out and I want to talk about that. Or I've been really struggling with this thing in our relationship and I just want to address that. That's a way of being accountable. Or I made a financial decision that I regret and I want to name it. Yeah. That's something I've done. Yeah. 1 year, I didn't put aside tax because I was working for myself and I was new to working for myself. So I do have a lot of grace. For like 3 months, I was like, we're going to have a massive tax bill. And I was so stressed and I held that back from talking to Blair about it until finally I did, I think. I don't even remember. And then turns out we actually got money back. So I didn't have to worry about it. It was like such a relief, but it was weighing on me and that was a lack of accountability. I hadn't put things in place properly and then I was stressing about it and then I wasn't talking about it. So that's a lack of accountability.
And the thing is, I dealt with that.
He had done it as well.
I'd done that for years, but you didn't talk to me about it because it was new for you and it just paralyzed you.
I was worried about how you would feel and how it would affect us. Yeah, it paralyzed me. That's but it's not an excuse. I needed to be active in that space. And I felt so much better when I vocalized it. I remember this feeling of just being like, oh my gosh, at the time, I didn't know we were going to get money back from tax. Yeah. I was still very stressed, but I felt better. And that lighter thing that we talked about, the relationship felt lighter. We felt like a team again. Another example is I promised to watch my tone and I was really snappy again. So I'm really sorry. Or I promised that I wasn't going to react this way or I wasn't going to talk this way. And I did. So I'm very sorry. Bringing anything to the table. If something's flagging for you as you're crossing one of those boundaries that we put in place, and we've done this, be like, I'm feeling a little bit off about this relationship or this friendship or this situation or whatever. So I'm just letting you know I'm putting this thing in place to put a bit of distance there or to reinforce that boundary. You're not just doing that action, you're also then bringing it to your partner. And we've done this before with our boundaries that we've got with people of the opposite gender, spending time with them, being like, I'm just letting you know I've said this to this person, or I'm putting this in place, or I've just alerted another person to be there so that we're not in this thing alone, or whatever it might be. We could do those actions on our own, but the actual conversation about it is where the accountability really comes in and helps grow as well. Or I want to let you know that I looked at content, or I read this book, or I watched this movie, or I thought about this thing that we agreed that we wouldn't. And so I'm sorry. And this is what I'm doing about it. So those are some ways that practical accountability can look in a relationship. And just a few thoughts to finish it. These are my edgy truths about this. You can be technically right and still lack accountability. So you can be technically right, like I didn't mean to do this, or I didn't whatever, but lack accountability because you're not communicating about it. You're hiding something. You're not being upfront and you're not owning it. So you could technically be right and still be lacking accountability. You don't need to make a mistake to take responsibility or own something. So you don't have to wait till you're making mistakes to actually own that thing. Instead of like our kids saying, I didn't mean to, you can mean not to and should mean not to.
What patterns have you already identified before they come back again, right? And so what can you do from here? It's like, all right, I keep on slipping into that area. So before it happens again, I know about it. What can I do now to prevent it again?
Exactly.
Or work on preventing it in the future.
Yeah. Another one is true love requires true accountability, even when people aren't looking. And this is really important. Real, solid, strong relationships require real, solid, strong accountability, regardless of who's looking, regardless if your partner notices, regardless if other people are seeing it. And last one, you can't love deeply if you're hiding something. You can't love deeply and completely if you're holding things back from your partner. And again, you're the one that's going to know what that is. Things aren't black and white, but you'll know.
Yeah.
In your inside, you will have something tweaking that for you. So that's accountability. I've just got a few reflection things for you to ask yourselves today. And I want us to ask ourselves as well. What is something that you're quietly excusing and you haven't communicated about? Is there a gap between who you're wanting to be and how you're actually showing up in your relationship, in life? I 100% am this. There's a huge gap between who I'm wanting to be and how I'm showing up in a lot of areas of life. That's a lack of accountability. Or where am I waiting to be called out for instead of stepping out and stepping up myself? What is the thing I'm waiting to be caught in rather than stepping out and addressing it myself? Something you can try today with your partner is sitting down and saying, look, we're okay, but I've noticed something in myself that I want to talk about before it becomes a bigger thing. Or, you know, I know I brushed this thing off that was important to you. Can we come back to that? I want to see how you're going, whatever that might be. Addressing something gently. What is amazing about this is when you can address something before it's a mistake again, like that's what you just mentioned, it's so much better. Like it's almost no partner is going to be upset at you trying to be proactive. It might not be comfortable, but everybody appreciates proactivity. And if you can address that in a nice, calm way today, before it's a big thing, then you'll find yourself having a much clearer conversation about it. So that is accountability. It's about taking ownership. It's a culture, and it's not about fixing all these things. I feel like I say this in every episode now. You don't need to fix everything that we've just listed. It's little things at a time. It's bringing little patterns and behaviors and rhythms into your relationship at a time to address this and strengthen this so that years down the track, instead of continuing to move this way slowly, you're starting to move closer together slowly.
I think a really big thing to realize here is accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about growing. It's about being honest while you grow. That's something as well. It's really important for you to be aware of, okay, we're just being proactive. We're being intentional with our growth individually and together. If we focus in on ourselves individually, it helps us as we approach our relationship growth. So just want to encourage you guys. This is a lot of stuff here. Write in. Tell us how you're going. We love write-ins, guys. We love hearing that. We share a lot about our journey. Again, you're going to see more on our YouTube of those journeys of how we're navigating through a lot of this stuff. So head on over there, but write in, let us know, because we love that feedback too. We're in this together. And that's just an awesome part of doing this journey, is doing it with you.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
Thanks,
and we'll catch you
guys.
next week.
See ya.
Good chat.